I never wanted this book. Ever.
I love math.
A language based on math.
You and Tarka have made some dubious choices.
It's like comparing a human to a monkey with a rock.
Like the lady that I am.
That's right. Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 12, Species 10C is over. But we're just getting started here tonight on Live Long and Podcast. As we are covering this episode, I am Dave Mader, joined with Michael Chan here on the channel, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitch. Or you might be listening to us in the audio version, wherever you're catching us. We're glad to have you with us tonight. And Michael Chan, Discovery's own Michael Chan, as he appeared in episode 8, was it?
It was 8.
I was like, which number was it? It was 8, All In, which kicked off this new year. And the adventure continues as the crew of the Discovery, they're trying to make diplomatic overtures towards Species 10C. We were learning more about them. We still didn't see them really tonight. We kind of saw some images and kind of on the consoles and kind of giving us some hints towards what they look like, but they're very different than most other Star Trek species, which I find very interesting. And they're taking their time to really unveil it. Meanwhile, Book and Tarka, I guess more Tarka now. Tarka is fully gone rogue. His Book has finally said enough's enough. Anyway, I've spoken enough already. Michael Chan, how are you doing tonight?
I am good. I'm good. And I literally just finished watching this episode 2 minutes ago because, my goodness, my son was a handful today.
That's what they tend to do. Yes, I saw your Facebook post earlier where you said, my son's scream, he was born with a scream that could shatter glass.
You could shake glass for now. See, my daughter was born with superhuman strength to compensate for her low muscle tone, so she's ridiculously strong, and now she has learned to contort her way out of one-piece onesies without actually unzipping it. She just somehow squishes her way out the neck hole.
You got a couple of X-Men on your hands there.
Yeah. And then my son, who's just 6 weeks old, who, by the way, just had his first ever audition for a TV commercial. 6 weeks old. That's he's starting young. He is loud. He has been loud since day one. He was born loud. He was screaming as he came out. So yeah, we can hear him anywhere in the house.
Well, he's the son of 2 actors who know how to project their voices, and so can we expect anything else out of young Gus Chan?
But let's talk about this episode because I am so excited. Wow, this is. I thought the last episode was very Star Trek-y, old school start. This was just old school diplomacy episode, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Me too.
Very happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, I got my issues with what's kind of going on in the narrative with some of these characters. In particular, I think General Odoye is really starting to wear on me because
he is annoying, but at the same time, I keep trying to think back to how Earth was when they first met them, and how we noted that not a lot of time has passed since the end of the last season. So we noted at the beginning of this season that, hey, now Earth is suddenly okay and not super militaristic and paranoid. Well, guess what? They are the same. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, there's a lot of context we're missing. We know, from season 3 that the burn happened about 150 years ago. Earth was kind of left very much isolated. Even they pulled, Starfleet headquarters pulled out at one point because they thought, if they know where we are, they're going to come after us. And Earth ended up leaving the Federation because the Federation wasn't really doing anything for them. And I guess we're seeing that sort of played out in General Odoye. On the other hand, Navarre left the Federation as well, and they came back fairly quickly, as did Trill, as did a couple other member worlds. And
Fair, but Trill and them are not in this mission with them, right? You have the two most about to be affected planets, and Navarre representative is fairly logical, whereas Earth's representative is extremely emotional, which I do know what you mean though. Like I found some of her logic annoying, but it didn't take away from me because I understood enough of where she's coming from. Like Tarka annoys me now, but
I think even Book's starting to come around, right?
Yeah, but Tarka, we always knew he was selfish and he's angry and bitter, and Osric Chow, those kind, sexy eyes of his, just too much for Tarka.
The prophet
needs to see them again.
Yeah, no, Tarka, like as much as like I think they've done a good job in this season, and I think that the actor who plays Tarka has done a great job to make himself a villain that is sort of understandable, but he's becoming more and more a villain. And as we've seen in like some other properties, I think like especially in Marvel, I think that they've been learning like how to make their villains more compatible or more compelling by making them more understandable, sympathetic.
Right.
While still doing bad things, like his actions are bad, and he talks about never wanting this or never wanting to do this, and how Book is his only other friend he's ever made in his life.
Which that was the one line that made me laugh. I'm like, BS, dude. How long have you two really been working to be your only other friend?
Wasn't like Vance his friend?
I thought they were.
Well, we never saw them in a scene together.
It doesn't matter though. He's Vance's guy, and Ashley. I agree with you.
Ashley, yes, Ashley, unable to join us tonight as duty calls.
Yeah, I miss you, Ashley.
We miss
Adam,
you, Ashley.
Miss you too.
As we do with Adam. Adam was over, I think, on the Picard podcast tonight,
which Jody Simpson noted apparently.
Yeah, well, whoa, boy, that Picard episode, and Jody, I agree. I did watch it as well.
Did you give it a low score?
I gave it an 8. It's not good enough for Jody. He wasn't gonna give 10s, but yeah.
Jody, come on. We don't give 10s here. Oh, thank you, Ashley.
Miss you guys too.
We only give 10s when I'm in the episode.
Or it has to be pretty stellar, I think, for me to give out a 10.
I'm kidding, man.
Yes, but of course it's an automatic 10, of course, if you're in it. Michael Chan, of course. Okay, so Tarka is this character that I'm becoming more and more like, you guys got to take this guy out. Like you got to take you're better off to take the fight to him. Get him out of the way.
We saw how it was explained how he took out Reno, and for as awesome as book is, he took him out too without he barely lifted a finger. His tech is really strong. He's like a Lex Luthor, man.
Yeah, well, Jody says he misses Ashley and Kevin more, even though he lives like he can walk to their house in 5 minutes, just for the record. But
screw you guys.
Yeah, it would take me almost an hour to walk to their house, Jody, but I would drive instead.
I've never actually met you physically, Jody,
yeah, we never met in person.
If you want to screw, I mean, come on, Daddy.
Hey, of course, my Alexa was just going off. Yes. Pandemic's ending, kind of, right? So maybe one day.
Back to the show.
Yeah, back to the show. Not to get political. Species 10C. Yeah, so there's a lot going on in this episode. Okay, where it was this kind of like this mission of like, how do we communicate with the 10C? Oh, he's here. Hello, Jody.
What is this? All right. I don't care if you give it a 10 or not. So I've decided I'm going to bring the whole crew with me.
We've been invaded, Michael.
What is going on?
I've been hearing some trash talk about the Picard podcast that happened just before this episode has been airing here, and I'm a little upset about this.
Much dishonor
To the Confederates over there.
Exactly. Like it's just I don't know what's going on, guys. It's there's some craziness going on here. So everybody from the Picard podcast decided we were going to jump in because we're not liking how the trash talk's going on around here.
Listen, we're in the 31st century, which means it's all going to work out in the 25th century. That's what it.
Oh, is it okay?
That's right.
Okay, well that's good.
Dave Mater of House Savoy. You will find no glory with ratings like that.
I gave it an 8 this week, right? Like, what else do you guys want?
No
A 10? Lucky
glory.
Chinese
10?
number. It means rich. So there you
And
go.
somebody just, I think it might have been Michael who just mentioned how we just give out 10s all willy nilly. No, it's because we have.
tens when I'm here.
Well, you give out 10s when you're here, but that might be a little self-serving, Michael.
No. I'm
So,
just that good.
Like you
I'm
are
just-
Discovery's own Michael Chan, and I completely appreciate that. But we feel that we have Worf, we have Adam, who shows up an hour late for a podcast. We have me, which is clearly the most important thing in my life. And
But you're not in Picard, so your 10s for Picard.
I'm not in Picard. That's absolutely correct. Because you know
But
what?
I'm just saying because
You
I'm
would
in
have to get,
Discovery,
we only
so
rate
I'm-
up to 10, Michael.
Look,
if I was
you
in
were
Picard, we would have to go to 11,
I wouldn't
and that's
even
not
have
cool.
to watch the episode. I would automatically give it 10. I don't care if Dave gives it a 1. I will give it a 10 if you're in it.
You know what? I appreciate that, Michael, and I would do
All
the
right.
same for you, my friend.
Thank
You
you.
know,
We
Wait,
did
but
that.
10
We did that for Michael.
you know, on the Enterprise, I was considered quite amusing. How about this Klingon joke, for example? What did the Klingon say to the flight attendant?
Was
What?
it?
Today is a good day to fly.
Oh my god.
I am not a merry man.
He's not a merry man at all. And you know what? Worf is a great addition to our podcast, and we're hoping one day to see him on the screen again. But you know, we haven't seen him yet. But
You know,
solid
your
episode.
Worf, your sense of humor dwarfs that of everyone else on your crew.
But
I
I'm
was
bummed.
considered quite amusing.
But on Deep Space
On
Nine, were
Deep
you as
Space
amusing?
Nine, oh yes, on Deep Space Nine as well.
Okay.
Very amusing. Take this.
Is that why you had to live on the
joke,
Defiant?
For example, where do Klingons buy their shoes?
Oh.
Where do they buy their
KLS
shoes?
shoe source.
KLS shoes, of course.
I don't know what's worse, dad jokes on TikTok or Worf jokes on this show.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Worf is a great
That's pretty good
father.
though.
Delicious.
Delicious. Delicious. Anyway, gentlemen, we thought we would just have a quick.
No,
jump in here
I
to
loved
say hi.
the. I'm intrigued by this new Picard season. I don't want to spoil anything for Michael because I don't think he's up to
Thank
speed.
you. I'm still in season 1.
Yeah.
Michael, it is movie
Yeah,
quality.
it's like night and day. It's like night and day.
It
I
is-
don't know what they've done. Something they've got some magic going on. I don't. know
I have
what's going on.
questions. I got 2 more weeks of Discovery, and then we'll be catching up on
And then
Picard.
you'll finally get to join us. Yep.
Yeah, I'll join you, and I'll give you my thoughts on that show.
How are
but
the
Find the
uniforms,
answers in your own
Dave?
heart, Dave Mater.
Dave already gave the uniforms a full 10.
the uniforms are
A
a full
full
10.
10.
A full
Yeah.
10.
Not
which
to
is
take away
very
from the Discovery
praised.
uniforms, but
No, they beat the Discovery uniforms hands down. let's be
well,
honest.
No,
I think
mine, because I'm in mine.
yeah, it depends on the division. I don't like the science.
the
division
only
Discovery.
the only person I've ever seen in Discovery that looks fantastic in that outfit is Michael Chan.
Thank you.
So you know it's
I think it was the
past that.
song.
And Worf I think has the final comments before we go.
Although props to Mary Wiseman, she looks amazing in hers.
Mary Wiseman
course.
always looks good.
If we ever see her on the show again, she hasn't come back for her cameo. Worf, are you looking out the window?
Worf is busy looking at those
I am
boots.
looking towards glory. I suggest you do the same.
I
Good
thought
night.
you were looking at boots because you have a foot fetish or something. Because that's what it is on my screen. You're looking
Oh,
at
Worf. He is the craziest son of Mog.
Worf does
He
like
just-
feet.
Worf does like feet.
He's
All
the
right.
craziest son of Moog. He dwarfs Kern.
Anyway, gentlemen, I
Ladies'
think
God.
we've taken too much of your show as it is. But
Well, Adam used to be on this show.
well,
uh,
I think we might be leaving Adam with you. I don't know.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm going to stay for a bit.
Okay,
You're
good.
gonna stay for a bit, but
Yay!
I have no business being here, so I'm going to retire and leave.
Okay. Well, Jody, thank you
care.
for running the show over there on Picard. It's much appreciated.
Oh, thank you for having us.
The community thanks you, and I thank you.
Oh yes. Well, we got a lot of views on the last one, so we'll see where the
We
next
did.
one
It was
goes.
a record-setting premiere.
Was it a record?
So,
Oh wow.
well, yeah, it was up there.
Cool.
It was
All right.
good amount of traction on the last one. So,
I think it's mostly Davin. I think people tune in.
and
for
even
Davin.
Jeff
That's the-
Mader is into this season of Picard, and he's hard to please.
that is probably the greatest praise you're going to
Praise
get.
you can achieve.
If you can get
so.
Jeff Mader on board, you're in good shape.
Yeah, he was like, "Well, I still don't like it, but I
Honestly though, the only thing that's missing for me, Dave, out of Picard, in all honesty, is there's no Michael Chan in it.
I agree.
Yeah,
So,
and all the other next
I'm
generation.
hoping maybe
cast
season
members,
3
but-
is going to have a little bit more Michael Chan in it. I keep looking for him, but I haven't found him yet. But I'm hoping soon.
Tonight's episode was full of Easter eggs and all kinds of things. So, a lot going on over there.
A lot going on. Anyway, all right. Well, take care, guys. I leave you with the good hands of Adam.
Thank you.
And the good news is, I brought him in on time. Something he couldn't do for my podcast, but he did for yours.
We appreciate the handoff.
Congratulations. Take care, guys.
All right.
Bye bye.
Adam, how are you?
Good.
So
I missed you guys last week. And
last
missed you
week,
too, buddy.
yeah, we met. You gave last week's episode a 9.
Yeah,
Rosetta.
really liked it. Really liked last week's episode.
Fantastic episode.
And what I've watched, I haven't watched all of this one, but I've watched of this one, I'm digging too. Like Star Trek is now, it was here, now it's up. It's just between Picard and Discovery. And I don't know where the hate comes from. They're fantastic shows, both of them.
Yeah, I have to agree. Like, and also you got Lower Decks out there. You got Prodigy, and
Yeah,
so
great.
like, there's a lot of great stuff to be celebrating in Star Trek universe right now. And Strange New Worlds right on the horizon, which I just saw the teaser for that yesterday, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see my friends in that. So very excited.
I just can't believe how, like, the production quality, the writing, like, everything about these shows this year, like, have just amped up. Like, I don't know what they did or what decisions were made or what happened. Michael was included. It's just fantastic how good they are. Like,
yeah,
you know what I said to you? I don't know, a couple of weeks back. I said that it reminded me of the early '90s when we were watching Best of Both Worlds, and the conclusion happened in June or May or whatever month it was, and you had to wait to September. And I feel like that now. Like, I got to wait
a whole week for the next episode, whereas that was
Considering where this episode left off, holy crap! I cannot wait for the next episode.
Is that right? I can't wait to finish this one now.
Oh
yeah. So how far?
I don't want to
far
spoil
into
too
it?
much. So
No. Listen, if I can just be here and comment as I can, I'd be happy to stay with you guys if I can.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
We're glad to have you here, Adam. And just breaking down this episode. We'll just kind of walk through it piece by piece. So mostly it starts off with the discovery outside of the is it the crossfield, or is that what they're calling it? Like the field, like where the 10C live.
Hyperfield.
The hyperfield. I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. And so they kind of established that the beginning of the episode was really just establishing how large this was. That it was like the size of a. I didn't quite catch how big.
I think it was Sun to Mars.
Yeah, it was like
Sun to Mars. Yeah.
that distance, which is an immense amount of distance, and like to build something of that scale just kind of blew all their minds. You kind of see like the look on Lieutenant Linus's Saurian face, where he's like, "Oh, even the Saurians wouldn't do that."
Yeah, I love the texture they put on the outer shell.
The outside. Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yes, very cool. And
it reminded me, remember in Relics when they came on the Dyson Sphere and they got that awe, like, this is so big. It's around a sun, and it's the same kind of size and just awe that the crew felt about it.
And we're still just outside of the galaxy, right? We're not in the galaxy, but we're not that far out of the galaxy. We're just
extra galaxy,
extra galactic space, I think Detmer called it. And then meanwhile, we have Jet, Reno, and Book and Tarka over on Book's ship, which they still haven't named. The theory was wrong. She did not voluntarily go with Tarka. She was kidnapped, abducted. I think Book says we didn't abduct you, or you're temporarily detained, I think was the kind of mincing the semantics of all of this. But they end up sending this the whole like crew. We see like Stamets and Adira are sending over the, like, what do they call them? The dots, the drones, the dots, and they're preparing a whole bunch of them to kind of go over there and do this analysis. But we end up seeing them get sucked inside of this thing. By like dots. Sort of
they always get abused.
Yeah, do you remember Abyss, the movie Abyss? Do you guys see that?
Yes,
I think so. A long time ago.
The water tentacles. That's what it reminded me of those.
Yeah, we see. And it happens like a few minutes later to Discovery.
But that was awesome how that worked out, and
it's essentially their version of a tractor beam.
Right. But I think we got as close to seeing the captain ever as she's ever got to panicking. Like she was get us, Detmer, get us out of here now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maximum warp, and you see like this, we saw it get the dots like a few minutes earlier, and you kind of know what's coming. That this water thing, because it's like fluidic, right? Like in its technology,
it was cool.
It just grabs the ship and like sucks it in, and they kind of talk about how it's only disabling weapon systems, engine systems. It's very selective in what it's sort of disabling, but like life support working fine, and everything else.
That's a really advanced level of tech, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like this whole Species 10C is very intriguing because they have like this incredibly advanced technology, which Dr. Nutcracker compares to.
It's like comparing a human to a monkey with a rock.
Right. But like in terms of their ability to communicate to other species, they are inexperienced, it seems, in that realm. Like they're not too
well. If they basically shut themselves away, right?
Well, they're from outside the galaxy.
And we don't know what other species there are out there. Maybe the next one's like stupid far and communicate the same way they do. Who knows, right?
Maybe, yeah. Like there's so little. This is the greatest build up for like the reveal of a species. I think Star Trek has ever done. Yeah. Like not even including the Dominion or.
I gotta say, once again, this episode reminds me of that episode from Enterprise where Hoshi was working on the Universal Translator to figure out how that one. I forgot what it looked like, but it was like this blob gas. I forgot what it was. She figured out how to communicate with it. And I just really felt like this episode, it's just, I don't know. That episode of Enterprise stood out to me when I was young, when I was watching it. I never forgot the idea that.
We haven't seen that one yet.
I don't think we've hit that one in our Discovery rewatch podcast yet. Yeah. Our Enterprise rewatch.
Regardless, there is an episode where she figured out how to communicate with Thing. And that is what this feels like. And I love it.
Well, yeah, for sure. Like,
but I think, Dave, that the critics are saying of Discovery this season, it's so slow, such a slow build. But man, we're getting now to a big wave. It's about to crest.
Oh, it's hitting hard, man.
Yeah.
Well, I like that they're coming at us with actual thought-provoking ideas, things that are different, outside the box, not stuff we've done before, right?
Yeah, but you also skipped that part where, oh my God, the Doctor and Stamets are talking about
Culber?
how Culber, thank you, he found peace on that planet as well. And again, that actor is great. He really gets the image across that he found something that he loved and he wants to go back. It was almost like the Nexus again.
Yeah, Wilson Cruz is a phenomenal actor. Like he's always on point, and I really admire his ability to really embody his character and convey to us through not just through the words, but just his looks, his eyes, just I really connect to everything he does.
When Ash Tyler snapped his neck, I was literally sad, and then they resurrected him like Jesus, So
yeah, that was one character. When he was killed off, I was like, I was very disappointed.
It's like, well, this is the guy you want to kill off, the one we all like, but I guess they gotta hit us. It was a real shocking moment for sure.
Yeah,
and like so. They were sticking a couple like kind of side moments into this episode, relationship moments. There was a little bit with Saru and Tarina in this episode. Quite frankly, I could have done without that stuff because I'm like Earth is going to be destroyed
because of how tense the episode is. You need slight short releases of tension, or else I just feel like it's too much.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I
guess, but like it's also like we're dealing with bigger. Like, even Saru says it like we kind of got bigger problems on our plate at the moment, and I kind of have to agree. Like you can kind of come back to this later if you need to, but there's a lot going on. You know, when Odoye is like, I can't even go along with your diplomatic efforts here because my planet might get destroyed, and Odoye is like, well, yeah, a soldier has to know when to quit, when to throw the towel in, when the fight's over. I don't know how much fighting Earth has done or against who exactly, but
those people with the masks that turned out to be Earthlings too.
The people from Titan that they're now united with.
There you go. Yeah, that's what they were fighting. They were fighting them. There's also the Emerald Chain.
Right.
Like they're menaces.
But don't you think she's pretty cool? Like honestly, for this thing being so close to Earth, and she's not taken over or Discovery yet.
Well, yeah, she's kind of like she's just this naysayer. Like I find her to be, she's just kind of like this is a dumb plan. I hate this. Is kind of what.
Yeah, you're right. She's probably not offering the solution she should be for her leadership role.
Well, it's like contribute something, but she's typically the doubting Thomas is kind of the role she plays.
Well, I mean, if you look at the three, Tarina, her, and the Doctor is kind of like the middle. Yeah, here's a solution, but also like this sucks. You're probably gonna fail. Tarina is like, go, let's do this, kind of, but let's logical. And then Nagoye is like, no. So you have all three.
Toya's just like, we hate this. This is the worst.
I mean, historically in sci-fi, humans suck, so it made sense that they chose Earth to be the naysayer.
She's been cast in such that role. Yeah, and so there's just like a lot of these meetings in this episode where they're kind of standing around talking about what they're going to do. But like, I'm okay with this because to me, this is classic Star Trek. Is like, how are we going to solve the problem?
Classic.
Whose plate of food was that? Was that the president's food, or was that General, or was that Nutcracker's food? I need to know. Dr. Harai is his character.
I forgot. I would assume it's his.
Yeah, he seems like
it's in line with his character.
He always likes to be eating, I think, that guy.
Last meal.
And
we eating in this episode of licorice and food.
Yeah, speaking of licorice, let's talk. So there's a lot of scenes here where Jet Reno was captured in the last episode by Tarka. It was revealed in that cliffhanger, and she's kind of like having these side conversations with Book, kind of explaining to Book, kind of getting through to him. Like, well, you're in pain and you're doing stupid things because you're pain, while he feeds her licorice, which is she says is for her blood sugar, but it's actually because she can use it to jerry rig her communicator.
Yeah, conduct electricity. Badass moment.
Problem solving,
Hey guys, one question I have. I love her too, but I might have missed this. Does Discovery know she's off the ship?
No. So they don't
at first.
Not at first. No, like for most of the time, they don't even know she's gone.
Yeah.
Even though it's like almost a whole day goes by in this episode, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And when they
Tarka
finally do go
smart.
to look for her, because I think it's Culber and who eventually realizes we need to call her because Culber is counseling Zora in this episode, right? Which is new. I
wish they just give Zora a body. I really would,
or like at least a holographic avatar.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
there is technically a holographic avatar. It's just a sound wave.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just
I'm
like
looking for the visual, Michael.
I know what you want.
He knows what we want. Something with eyes would be more connective, I think, than like this narrator we get. But so like and I think that Jet Reno, like I just gotta give huge shout outs to Tig Notaro. Like, and I know we've talked about her before, but she's one of the best pieces of this show, like for sure.
For somebody that wasn't in the first 8 or whatever episodes and this come roaring in last week and did such a great job, and she's fantastic. I got to go back to watch the episode where she was introduced on the Hiawatha when they found her.
Season 2, episode 1, I think.
Yeah, just great.
They even gave her some backstory this episode. That was fantastic about her wife and everything.
She tells us in this episode she lost her wife, and so she definitely knows the pain of grief, and so she was stuck out there on the wreck of the Hiawatha for about 6 months, right? During those events where we saw her, when her introduction, she was kind of jerry rigging like a whole bunch of droids to stay alive, if I recall correctly. There was this ensign that she talks about in this episode who was severely burned, and she felt like she had to keep him alive for her duty. And she kept replicating skin grafts, but eventually he died after 11 days of suffering. And she says to Book that was when I knew it was not for him. It wasn't for that ensign. I was doing it for me and for like my loss of my wife, and that I needed to make up for that. And Book is finally maybe starting to kind of hear reason, and like he's been so driven through all of this, despite given new information.
Do you think that and you guys are 45 minutes ahead of me on the show right now, but do you think that Book is starting to see, yes, he's lost his whole world and everybody he knew, but he's also got all these people around him that really do care for him. And again, this is a really feeling show. Like there's a lot of deep emotion in this show, and I'm wondering if that's going to tip in the other way for him and just say, what am I doing? I got to protect or work with my.
Do you want a spoiler?
No, from this episode.
Yeah.
Just let me. If you're going to tell me. It's okay. I'm going to watch it.
Because we have to go.
Yeah, I got to go over it anyway. So go ahead. I'm here.
Okay, Dave.
Well, go ahead.
We want to talk about Book and his journey tonight.
Well, yeah. So Book had some interesting scenes tonight where he's mostly talking to Reno, and he's talking about how he's a name of Booker Cleveland. That being an assumed name, not his real name. And that he's the fifth in this line of couriers, I guess, that have used it. I have to look up who the original Booker Cleveland was. I believe, actually, I don't want to even say because I can't even spit it off the top of my head. But somebody that there's sort of like this honor to the name. It's kind of like a title that's passed down. And he goes, well, and Jet Reno says to him, like, what would Booker Cleveland the fourth have thought about everything you're doing? And he kind of says, well, I think he would have understood, or he would have
understood Tarka.
Understood Tarka, yeah, more specifically. I thought that was cool. I was like, we still don't know a ton about Booker, like even though we kind of do, but but you're right. It's a very feeling show. It's a very much a show about relationships on at its core. And he does turn around when we realize Tarka is lying. Yeah, and that's what Jet Reno does point out to him. She's like, yeah, I know he said that, like, because there's a couple sequences where Adoye is talking to them as like their spy, and she's like, well, this is what's going on. Book asks about Michael, and then they say, well, if diplomacy fails, because this kind of comes after this whole sequence where I guess this core, it's Burnham and Saru along with like all the ambassadors and like the diplomatic people, and they're trying to communicate directly with the 10C right through the window of like the aft cargo bay or the shuttle bay in this episode. And it's a real kind of interesting first contact episode. I thought, like, just to kind of see how different the language of this species was, how it was, that the mission that they did last week in Rosetta was very worthwhile, because that was the building blocks of what they needed to continue this. It really reminded me a lot tonight of the movie Arrival. I don't know if you've seen that film
with Amy Adams.
Yeah,
I was about to say this whole thing reminded me of that.
Very much so. It was
even
like
the 10C and the mist and everything.
Yeah, they're mist and like and a whole like a whole different way of thinking about life, and communication. Because the whole thing with this, like the universal translator, sometimes is that it's really only seems to be good with other humanoid species who you're kind of already very much alike anyway. But when you meet a species that's completely different than you, they're not even made of the same molecules, like not carbon based. I mean, it's like it's a whole new game. Like and that they have to kind of start from scratch, and that's what creates the urgency here. Because remember, like there's kind of like this 29-hour countdown that started like 2 or 3 episodes ago, that they have to stop the DMA from mining the boronite, or Navarre and Earth are going to be destroyed. Right.
It's great that Star Trek recognizes that the fact that not everything is carbon based and you probably can't communicate with it. It's just a nice little tweak. They could have easily done that.
Yeah.
And again, that would have been the easy way out. And
well, even like later on when they have to, they're trying to communicate with the 10C, and they're doing this math equation to kind of send a message back to them. And well, how do we say us in math? How do you say the people you're talking to? And they say, well, at one point that the idea is, let's just say number 6, because that's the atomic number for carbon, and we're carbon based. Or I think there's one other idea they threw out for a number, but they ultimately come up with the idea for air, because like they know that species understands that air is what we breathe, and they kind of throw the equation for air at them and say that, you basically the message was the DMA is causing terror to us. And that's when the 10C go, oh, we're so sad about that. We're so sorry about that. And that's exactly when Tarka goes on his little, rogue mission to screw everything up and ruin everything in the process. Just quick here on this screenshot, you can kind of, we still don't quite got a look at these 10C. They're like big octopus things or something.
Didn't he say that was, he wasn't sure if that was all of them or just like the what we can see.
Yeah, like come on, there's got to be a reveal next week, right? We're gonna actually physically see one of these things in person. I think that's a yes. They got to be, but he's like, well, it's not. He talks about how their brains are different, how it's nothing like them. And I just like, I like the problem solving aspect of this. They even they pull out Detmer and a bunch of the other bridge officers at one point to kind of have a little bit of a think tank together about this. I guess that's later in the episode, but on how they're going to kind of solve the language. Here it is of this thing, because they know that that there's all of these like different molecules, and that the molecules kind of correspond to different emotions, and then how they're going to break all that down, like we said, kind of like a rival, and putting that all together. I really liked this whole sequence. I like, we've been talking about this all season, that these background, who originally were background characters, Detmer and Nilsson and whoever, they're definitely way more involved in the show than they used to be in the crew, and more they feel like they're actual people instead of just there to fill a line.
That's what when Mary Wiseman left, though, you have room for all these people now, because she was a big part of the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like all of Mary Wiseman's lines went to have now been spread out among them, which I think is a good thing. Even though I kind of miss her sometimes, because I thought she was a good dynamic here, but on the other hand, I think that maybe collectively they're better off without her for the reasons.
I don't think her character was growing that much. She did a lot of growth in last season, like a tremendous amount of growth. But this year at the beginning, I think it was the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, like Saru tried to make her the first officer for a bit, and they were trying to give her more, and then ultimately she didn't stick around. But sometimes I think I think it was sad when even when Tasha Yar left Next Generation, but that kind of gave Worf this whole new agency in the show, and kind of led to a whole bunch of other great things. So sometimes
who knows? I mean, actors are actors, right? Who knows? Maybe she needed to do something, scheduling. Who knows why she ended up gone for a while.
Well, I think that whole cast on Discovery, especially early on, dealt with a lot of backlash and a lot of hard times, and I think that the trauma of that, I'm sure, wasn't pleasant. And so when she could get out, she did, but who knows? Just quick screenshot here. We got them figuring out the math with everything else. Where is he?
It's like comparing a human to a monkey with a rock.
That's right. He's figuring out.
I love how much math is used to solve all this. It was neat.
I love math.
Yeah, she loves it. Yeah, it was fun. I like problem solving. It doesn't always have to be shoot, bang, bang kind of thing. Although we did get some of that when eventually Book turns on Tarka later on in the episode, when he kind of realizes that Tarka is not, he's not on the level. He's lying to him about a bunch of things. He's giving him false information, and Book turns on him, but it's all for naught because Tarka has kind of anticipated this and has already taken over Book's ship and is completely in control of everything. And like, so when Book finally does make a move on him, there's no chance for Book. He can't even on his own ship, he has no power.
Yeah.
You know,
all I have to say is, again, it was Tarka. It just totally Lex Luthered because dude, the tech, the force field, everything, that's so Lex.
Yeah, I think a Lex Luthor might be a good comparison for Tarka, but a more likable Lex Luthor.
Definitely more charismatic
and sort of sympathetic, because I find Luthor's often just mustache twirling. And I don't think Tarka is. Tarka is just driven to get what he wants, to satisfy his gratification, sort of thing. So,
But come back to Tarka for a second, though. Yeah, not knowing what happened tonight. However, 2 episodes ago, we were very sympathetic to his backstory, and he's got a one-track mind. He wants to get back to
Osric Chow.
Thank you. Yeah.
Again, because he's one. Those sexy
eyes through all that makeup.
Oh yeah. It's the eyes, man. Tarka can't resist.
Yeah. Speaking of which, and talking of makeup, we got some real close-up shots tonight with Saru in particular. Saru talking to Michael Burnham about, I guess dealing with stress. Like we talked about the emotion in the show and how emotion and relationships at the heart of things. And there's this whole segment where Saru's like, yelling helps. You should yell to sort out your anger and things like that.
I love that scene.
Yeah, except do you know who didn't like it? Grudge the cat, which is much like my own cat, Spot, who anytime I'm venting about anything, Spot doesn't like it. He goes and hides under the bed, or he goes into another room. There was another Spot tonight on Picard, by the way, too. Yes, Kelpians.
So glad they brought that back.
Yeah, the Wookiee scream from Saru, and because these are some tough times they're going through, right? There's some pretty stressful things that they had a lot's on the line here. If they mess up, if they misstep, things go bad, and that's why Tarka and Book. It's why it's so much worse because they're already got a lot on their plate as it is, and you guys are think better, think you're smarter and you think you know how to solve things better, and that's why I'm just And Reno says you guys are gonna get us all killed. You are what you're doing is wrong, and Book is just well, kinda, but not. I guess you got a point. It's kind of what comes back here. And ultimately they decide to go, they get sort of this invitation to go inside this orb from the 10C, this little bit of a meeting room where they can have a bit more of a private conference. Ultimately, I think they send in the president, Rillick, they send in Tarina, Saru, and Burnham. Was it just the 4 of them? I think it was just the 4 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Doye decides not to go because she can't be an effective spy if she's inside of the orb. And so she's like, I'm more useful out here with Nutcracker. And that's what I'm going to do. And they end up, once they're inside, they end up just in sort of this replica of the bridge. It's just this is what they think is this what you want? The 10C say? Is this what makes you happy? Because the 10C seem to be earnest and willing to try to make a connection with the group, right? And ultimately, they kind of go through all that. They kind of, I don't know. I don't want to, the details of it are sort of beside the point because it's mostly about problem solving. How do you solve these communication issues? I thought it was interesting to see that that isolytic weapon kind of put there on that bridge, Michael, because like they were trying to like analyze the meaning of that. That was the weapon that they used to destroy the first DMA before 10C just created a whole new one like 5 minutes later. Right. And so the interpretation of that, that's the thing about communication, is that communication is very.
And they get pretty far with their communications in the math. Like it was very logical. It was really good writing.
I kind of got stopped here because I stopped on a screenshot from the episode. This whole who was sending this message to Adoye?
That was Tarka.
That was Tarka. They said they
Using
could be
Book's,
gone
communicator.
weeks, years. The DMA hits in hours. We are ready. Let's do this.
Meaning she needs to hack into the system to allow them access to the nacelle.
Right, because that's ultimately how they bent the plasma, right?
That's right.
And this was the plan that Book was against, and even she was against, but she went through with it here, right? Well, she must have. Who vented the plasma if it wasn't her?
I don't remember if she was against it or not.
Yeah, me either.
All I know is like because the whole point is for them to escape the bubble and then go get destroy the power source, right?
Right.
It doesn't matter who how they get out of it. I think it's just the point is they got out.
Well, for Tarka, his only mission is to steal the power source.
All right. Yes, of course. But stealing the power source would depower the DMA. But I said, as we know, it kills everything. So.
Yeah, but he does. But there's this other angle that Jet Reno talks about where he's like, you're going to create a subspace. She calls it a toxic waste or something here in her like message at the end. But there's going to be some kind of destruction to subspace that will threaten Earth in a different way. Like what Tarka's doing, his solution to stopping it is going to have other consequences.
Right, it'll kill the 10C, it'll destroy the Discovery. Although Tarka's arguing, I mean, they may have a time to do.
There's a chance they might live. Yeah,
is what I heard.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, well, maybe not. Who knows?
And then it will harm Earth and Navarre. Yes.
Right. Yeah. Michael, did you? Is it Lieutenant Commander Reese? Is that his name? Is that who this is?
Yeah, it's Reese. Yep.
Reese up in the chair tonight.
Yeah, made me happy again.
Yeah, he's the third in command then. Sometimes they give it to Nielsen. I don't know who's the second officer of this ship.
I guess whoever makes sense for the role at the time based on what the mission is.
Aren't they both lieutenant commanders?
Yeah,
they're the same rank,
but both of them can do it.
Yeah, they're the same rank, but in most ships' command structure, you have obviously the first officer, and everyone always knows who that is. But the second officer, like on the original Enterprise, it's Scotty's the second officer. Right. He's like the third in command. And
we've already seen Reese take the con in episode 1, so.
But we also see Nielsen do it.
Oh no, yeah, I just don't remember what the mission was. So
okay, maybe it's based on their skill set. I guess
that's what I mean. Like if you need Reese on his actual console, then you'll send Nielsen. And if you need Nielsen at hers, then send Reese.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because isn't Nielsen more communication, which would be important for this mission?
Yes.
Because Reese is ops, but
he's more tactical, isn't he?
He's tactical, yeah, but that would allow. So putting him in the chair and keeping Nielsen at her position would make sense based on the mission the diplomatic mission and requirement for communication.
I guess so. So yeah, there's a Washington, there's Detmer, there's Reese, and there's Nielsen. They're the 4 lieutenant commanders on the bridge.
And then right.
Lieutenant.
There's also Christopher, who's
Lieutenant Christopher now, but
he's currently subbing in for Bryce.
Who's on a mission with
and then there's Linus, of course,
and Linus, the science officer,
right?
But
I don't think he's not a lieutenant commander.
No, but that's the bridge crew.
Yeah,
right.
But the whole point though too of a captain is you got to develop your people. So I mean, maybe this is not the best situation. You're gonna pick whoever's best, but to leave someone in charge so you can start exercising command and learning how to lead, right?
And Bryce did a good job in episode 1. I mean, Reese did a great job in episode 1. So
I liked Reese in this episode, like the few moments he was shown in command.
He's good here.
Hey Dave, the pictures you're showing every time you show one, the uniforms do look so good in this series.
Yeah, they're a badass.
I do love them. I love these new uniforms. Tonight the only thing that was kind of bothering me really was the science division, because I feel like the blue is just too dark. I'm like guys, why do you guys go so dark with this blue? Like, it looks better here on Dr. Harai's uniform, because he's got like the reverse with the blue strip. So his looks.
He has
good.
my uniform, but with the blue.
Yeah. So it looks good. There's that tone of blue looks good as the strip, but when it's like the full coverage, it's a little too dark for me compared to like the yellow and the red, which really pop so well in their jackets.
I think the concern might be because Discovery is generally a very blue tone show. You might need a blue tone that contrasts enough with the actual blue lights that to actually allow for the performer to stand out enough. So darkening instead of brightening the blue might have been their decision.
I also have an issue with the comm badge. The comm badge is too shiny. They need to put a little more contrast in it, because like the Delta symbol, like the Starfleet symbol, it's so hard to see. It was a little better tonight, actually, in some of the lighting, that the way they did the shots. But
I like the badge.
It's just too shiny. Take out some of the shine.
I think it's too round. It's too rounded.
Yeah,
it looks like a Bajoran thing.
Bajoran, kind of icon a little bit too, especially because you can't see the contrast between the symbols isn't enough. Like I had to create it on Star Trek Online. I was like, like I could make it, but look, I got to do everything authentic, of course, right? So I made it like shiny and hard to see on purpose, because I'm like, that's the way it looks on the show. But I'd rather they fix that, because like if you look at like the collars, like they have like black, like with like the contrast of like the silver highlights or the gold highlights, depending on which uniform it is. I'm not saying they're doing a bad job. I'm just saying there's room for improvement. That's all. And I know that they have a lot of different factors to pull in with lighting and tone and like sort of tone and whatever. But when I see them,
but what they've done with the yellow, for sure, the command uniforms are fantastic. And I liked what they did with Captain Pike. Was it last season?
It's like 3 years ago.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It feels like last season. Anyway, I like that yellow too. And this is just as good.
Yeah. And like we're getting a whole new uniform on Strange New Worlds, it seems, as well. I'm not sure about the neckline over there, but
still going for partial asymmetry, like in Discovery right now.
Right. Yeah. It's a little bit like that, but it
I know.
Yeah.
I had a feeling you would be like,
just the neckline, because it's so V neck.
I know.
Now I'm looking it up.
Yeah, I haven't seen a ton of it yet, but I'm okay with it generally. And like on the captain's uniforms, I'm like, I love these shoulder epaulets that they've added
I love
here.
those things.
I'm like, why don't you give that to every uniform? Why is it only to the captains?
Because they're the captains.
Well, I think it would look good on the others. That's all.
Add more weight to my shoulders, man. I need to like move around.
Weigh you down. I want you to look like heavy lies the jacket when you're out there.
Look, I need to move quickly, man. You have no idea how hard. Like a Federation HQ is huge. Okay, I can't just teleport everywhere.
If you need to get defend from an attack from an outside source, you need to be able to be mobile. You don't be
the only thing I can do with those things is rip them off my shoulders and throw them at the enemy. Okay.
Right. Okay. So just back to the episode, there was like the whole thing where they figured out that Jet Reno was missing, and like they eventually found her comm badge, but like even Zora was fooled, because Zora's like, well, according to my readings, that comm badge is still connected to Jet Reno, but it's not, and they realize she's not there.
Is super smart.
Yeah. This. I was like, maybe they need a better system for security, because it was amazing to me that she could be missing for this long and nobody figured it out. But I guess they had a lot on their plate.
But she plays a pretty big role. You think that? Where is she?
Yeah, even Stamets is like, I feel like an idiot. I've been looking for her all day and I couldn't find her. figured she was in the bathroom, I guess.
Or he's lying and he was relieved. He's like, don't get yelled at and made fun of all day.
Right.
That's
Now he's just lying. He's like, I was looking for, where is she?
I just don't need another day of sarcasm, you know.
Anyway,
we have to get her back. Oh man.
Yeah. Grumpy lady. Yeah, and so she gives, like, at the end here, she's like, hey Book, I made this secret communicator out of licorice. Right. Like, sure. Do it up, Jet Rito. She grabbed it, she says, right before Tarka stunned her. So that, like, we were kind of wondering how he got the drop on her. I guess he just hit her with a phaser blast last
Either
week.
that or he has that shield of his.
Wasn't he like hiding under a desk when they made eye contact? And I guess he just grabbed a gun and he stunned her really quickly, and then he planted her communicator in that engineering grate, and then he like rigged a whole bunch of other things. He's quite the Lex Luthor, to your point, Michael, over there. And basically we're left with this cliffhanger of, Reno's like, hey, it's me, Reno. I'm with Book. We're both captured by Tarka. Tarka is about to screw everything up, and you have to stop us.
You have to stop us, whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. And that is the cliffhanger we are left with heading into the finale. So I guess this is coming to a head. Tarka is the bad that has to be stopped here. He, the Osira maybe of this season, and so, but will this be Book's sort of battle, you think, or do you think this will be something Michael ends up taking on directly? Michael? No, Adam?
I need to watch this episode before I comment, but
Okay.
I am really looking forward to get through this. And guys, if I can come back next week and do both shows, I'd like to do that. Because
sure, you're welcome to do both. We would. I can't seem to make both work, but I can watch both. But podcasting about both is the hard.
Well, next week I'm on vacation, so I can fit it in. So really good.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Well, hey, while we're here, let's rate this episode and bring this up over here. If you can see that. Maybe I'll go in a little bit tighter.
So, Dave, we have 2 episodes left after this.
One more.
Okay.
One more.
So two more. No, next week's the conclusion.
Next week's the last one.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm gonna give I'll give a rating of 8 for this one. I liked it. 9 for Michael. And
I'll get back to you.
Okay. Adam hasn't finished it. I don't think Ashley's left a comment, but Ashley, we can always update it. So just between Michael and myself for tonight, it's an 8.5. I know none of us want to do it, but
let me guess, 3, because they hate no action and there's still emotions.
I don't know. I don't know what, like, it's so weird that Discovery is picked on in this way, like by IMDb ratings.
It's because it's modern Trek. We have a Trek available during like our social media and the internet has exploded right in our time. This is what happens when everyone's connected, right? Like in quote unquote old Trek, we went from no internet to some internet, but now everyone's connected and we have a pandemic.
What are you talking about? You're talking about Next Gen as old Trek?
Well, I mean, original series, TNG, DS9.
Okay, well, yeah, but even like, I mean, you can imagine what they would have done to TNG in the first.
If there was internet, it would have been They would have been horrible.
Yeah, because that was the comparison to old like original series at that time.
Oh, I remember how much people hated it.
Yep.
I don't as much. I remember I was watching Next Gen in syndication, so it was already kind of established as like a popular thing by the time I can remember. I remember Best of Both Worlds when that aired, like the part 1.
Well, eventually got big, but it started.
Yeah, but the first few seasons, the first 3 seasons were tough.
Oh yeah,
and
people
I
mean.
Like I remember watching the premiere actually, Farpoint,
Encounter Farpoint.
Yeah, and hearing like everybody, because I was in high school at that time, and went to school after that, and people hated it. Like, this is no Kirk, and just the comparison to original series was just outrageous then.
Right. And so Discovery definitely I had my own issues with Discovery, especially in the first 2 seasons, about some of the things they were choosing to do. I've definitely come around on the show. I feel like the show is a very different show now in these.
It is, but think about what you just said. I mean, the first 2 seasons, TNG struggled, DS9 struggled, hell, Voyager struggled.
Enterprise didn't make it beyond 4.
Yeah, I guess it's more. It's less of about their struggle, and it's like that they're kind of thumbing. They were kind of like early on thumbing their nose at what had come before. Like they wanted to reinvent the Klingons and a few other things. But
see, I took 5 episodes to get into it, like from the first season 1, and I tried twice, and then I started liking it. But it was really season 2, which I did like. I thought it was a solid episode, a solid season.
Yeah. Not so much for me. Okay, and
5.6, that's a shocker.
5.6, a little. So, like, if you compare it to like the Picard ratings, which like these are new Trek, like this is both new Trek, Picard and Discovery. The Picard ratings are much more favorable to the Discovery.
That's because it's all the people who used to like TNG.
But Picard is the only carryover.
No, there's other cameos.
Well, there was like Jonathan Frakes for 1 episode and Marina Sirtis.
It doesn't matter. The whole point is who they're dealing with.
I guess. I don't know. I think I don't know. I think it's a little bit.
It's
more
really
complicated
good.
than that.
It's really good.
Yeah. So.
I hate to put it this way, but it's led, by not only is it Picard and TNG, it's led by a straight white man.
Oh, who's that? Who's that?
Picard, dude.
Oh,
but he's also really old.
He's a really old straight man.
I've read enough comments about Discovery to know why some of these people are
so are you saying that because it's a female black cast that there's a hate on for it?
There's her and also the massive amounts of diversity in it, plus the
okay, you know what? I completely buy that, and remind me to tell you of my experience at a gas station. Really.
Oh yeah, I know. Like I think there is a big amount of that crew out there that have some issues to work out. Yes.
All I'm saying is I've read a lot of comments because
Michael,
I'm a glutton for punishment.
Completely, I would agree with that, and you know what? I just ignore it.
Oh, I do. I just.
Hey, and me too. Like either you like the show or you don't like the show, and that's okay. But
review bombing is a thing now, right? On social media. And even though Internet Movie Database is not really social media, it still has a platform for people to review and give a rating, and so they're going to review bomb it.
I just use it as a guidepost across all the Star Treks, just to kind of give a sense of like how did people go to rate it. If there's something better than IMDb, then I would switch to that.
Just trust me when I say people who love the show don't go on these sites and review it as much as people who hate it, who, in my opinion, are the minority.
Yeah, but that's everything. That's everything about social media. The haters are out there.
Yep.
They're gonna,
they're vocal and they just,
right. Yeah, like I think it. I think that's why. Like I don't know what my thought. I guess is like, is it about first impressions? Is it about trying to win the cast, like the fans over slowly? Where people are going
10 years. Give it 10 years. I guarantee you, whatever next Trek is going to be, people are going to hate on that and then talk about Discovery favorably.
Dave, we'll be doing the rewatch in 10
We're doing the rewatch, just like with Enterprise, where like and when Enterprise was on, I was very much negative about Enterprise, and now going through this rewatch, I'm like, well, like there's a lot of those issues I had back in the early 2000s, I still have, but
and
a lot of
10
them
years from now, Admiral Chan is going to be like, man, you remember the good old days when I showed up in season 4, episode 8?
Yeah.
Now I'm in this new show and everyone hates my guts. They think it's terrible that I'm an admiral.
Well,
but you know what though? Like if you go back to what original series was and all the fans, the diversity and the groundbreakingness and all this stuff of it, and now Discovery is probably the best embodiment of all that stuff.
It is.
Oh dear.
Don't
Anyway,
get
I
me
don't.
started. Have you
I
heard
don't want
Steven
to. Yeah,
Universe?
yeah.
All right,
Don't-
let's not go on a
don't-
negative, guys.
Yeah,
This season's
yeah.
been fun. I've been
Yeah.
enjoying it. I
Yeah.
hope everyone else is, and I hope that you like our coverage here on Live Long and Podcast as
Yes.
we continue to cover this. And we got one more to go. And I'm hoping we're gonna get another Michael Chan sighting, but who's to say? You know, maybe this season he can't say. So
I wish I was in it. How about that?
yeah, we won't know what the finale's episode name will be until probably Monday or Tuesday.
Is it a
Yeah.
1 hour
You
or
guys.
a 2 hour?
They haven't. I don't think they've said. I think it's a 1 hour.
Okay.
As far as I know, we'll see. We know there will be a season 5 though, so we know that there will be more story after this
There
next
will be,
episode.
yes.
Yeah. Okay, so just to plug everything else we do here on Live Long and Podcast on Monday nights, we have our Star Trek Enterprise rewatch. We've been going through all those episodes. Most recently, we just talked about the episode Shadows of Pajem, and next week's episode is Shuttle Pod 1. Which is kind of an interesting one for us podcasters, because actually Connor Trenier and Dominic Keating, who play Trip and Malcolm respectively on that show, have just started their own podcast called Shuttle Pod 1, which I think is pretty fitting. So we'll be talking about every episode of Enterprise, presumably for like the next 2 years, going through all of them with Jody Simpson and Kevin Millard every Monday night. Check that out over on our channels. Plus on
Forget me.
And of course, Adam Woodward. I'm looking right at you, as I say. Also, check it on Tuesday nights. We talk about Star Trek Deep Space Nine. We call it Deep Space Nine and Nine-ish. Jeff Mader leading the charge over there, along with Jaemeel Robinson. We got the Kevin and Ashley Millard, Davin Skellhorn, sometimes in the role of Worf, covering over that. We just most recently, what was the episode we did the other night? We talked about things past. And the episode we're doing next Tuesday is called The Ascent, where Quark and Odo head up a mountain together, being kind of cranky old men together the whole way up. It's a great episode. I love it. And then, of course, we're now covering Star Trek Picard and Star Trek Discovery, both on Thursdays. We got one more week of this. The Picard is like, it's definitely engaging. So I would recommend checking it out. Engage. And speaking of which, we just did our most recent episode of Star Trek Radio Theater, which was the episode Hide and Q, which we did in sort of celebration of Picard season 2, which features Q. And Jody Simpson playing Q, me playing Picard. We had Steve Shives coming over from his YouTube channel playing Riker. Michael Chan, Discovery Zone. Michael Chan playing Lieutenant Commander Data, if he was Arnold Schwarzenegger in the 90s. Yeah. We had Jessica Chan as Lieutenant Tasha Yar, and Jeff Mader as Geordi LaForge. Maud as Worf, Jane as Beverly Crusher, and Kevin as Wesley Crusher, and Ashley as our narrator. It was really fun. Just posted the edited episode today, so the edited remastered version is up on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, and listeners, remember, this is the only show where you will hear an actual Star Trek cast member do script reads.
Don't I didn't forget for sure. And the edited version is a whole different experience. I often put like 20, 30 plus hours into those edits, and then I don't know how many people hear them, but I hope you will check them out one day in any event. And we also have 2 other channels. One's called Super Mader Brothers Podcasting, where we talk about shows that are not related to Star Trek, movies and different things. We talk about Marvel. We talk about Big Brother Canada. We talk about Survivor. We just last night talked to the premiere of Survivor season 42, and we were talking about Big Brother Canada 10. Plus, we talk about things like Hawkeye. We'll be talking about Moon Knight. We'll talk about Ozark and a whole bunch of other shows. We also have one called Trivial Debates. That's our other channel where we talk about movies, TV, sports, and more. Jeff Mader just hosting the most recent episode with Jody Simpson, Jaemeel Robinson, and Max Dudek competing. And we got some great friends with podcasts. We got Michael Chan. He's got the Hellbound podcast with Alex Blackburn. He's wearing the.
Right. I'm wearing our shirt today. We have merch now.
You have merch now?
Yeah, I'm on a shirt. There you go.
Wow, that's impressive.
Dave, we got to get merch.
Where's our merch?
We got to get merch. So the Hellbound podcast. We are a horror podcast. We air a new episode every single Wednesday. Yesterday's episode is a phenomenal one where we talk about Scream. We talk about there's all manner of horror stuff that I think all of you should be interested. Oh, I tear apart a movie called Superhost. Do
you like scary movies? That was my Scream guy.
Good impression.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Check out the Hellbound podcast with Michael Chan, Alex Blackburn every Wednesday. Plus, Davin Skellhorn's podcast. He's got Locutors of Trek, his Star Trek theme channel, where he does like debate segments. He does writer room pitches. He does trivia segments. He does all kinds of great, fun, imaginative things over there.
Debate 9. That was a lot of.
I heard you did well over there on that.
Champion.
Representing for Live Long, for Team Live Long in podcast. That's against right. Locutors of Trek. And then also he has his other podcast called X Rated, which is an X-Men the animated series rewatch he does with Andre. Jaemeel was just on that Tuesday. I was on it the week previous. We were talking about the episodes Till Death Do Us Part 1 and Part 2 respectively. And they just did an interview not too long ago with Erica and Julia Leewald from who are the executive producers and creators of that show. It was an excellent interview. I highly recommend checking that out. And my son, Eamon Mader, under his alias Sam Jerka, does a podcast called Let's Talk About Fighting Games, where they talk about Street Fighter, Dragon Ball, and other things, but with games they fight or something. So check that out. It's really cool. And they got a new episode coming out really soon. They told me yesterday. Okay. Is there anything I've missed? Is there anything I've forgotten? If not,
I just like to give a shout out to my friend Scott Dion Brown, host of the Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown, which airs every Sunday on Twitch. I will be interviewed this Sunday on his show, talking about my role in Star Trek.
Oh, that's very cool. I got to check that out. Make sure to share that link out when.
Please do, Michael. Yeah, I'd like to listen to that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, guys, I think we can close the book on Species 10C, at least as far as the episode title goes. It seems like we all liked it, and we got one more to go before season 4 is over. I'm excited. Let's take it away with a quote. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Michael, and thanks to Ashley for the comments, and Jody and Davin, or I guess Jody and Worf, the Piggy Bank Worf, for making an appearance earlier tonight. And we'll take you out here on a couple quotes as we get ready for the finale. Live long and podcast, everyone. Have a great night.
You and Tarka have made some dubious choices.
That's right.
I love math.